Although people from the south and people from the north differ, there is no north and south in Buddha nature. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 272, Zen Buddhism, part 9. All right, just briefly, last time on Zen Buddhism part 8, you might recall,
they take the Platform Sutra and change it, mixing in folk stories and erasing its sacred meaning.
So I became very curious about the Platform Sutra, and I got a copy. Here it is. So, moving forward, what we're going to do is read the Platform Sutra every other Zen Buddhism. So, I know it's a complicated schedule. I'll find some way to streamline it or communicate it in a way that makes sense for anybody who's interested in the schedule. When it's Zen Buddhism 9, 11, 13, 15, the odd-numbered Zen Buddhism readings on here moving forward are going to be the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. That's the Sixth Patriarch of Chan Buddhism, counting from Bodhidharma as the first patriarch. And on the even-numbered ones, so 10, 12, 14, we'll continue reading the Shobogenzo, the Eye of the True Dharma by A. Dogen. So this is a bit older. This is technically Chan. This was hundreds of years before anybody pronounced it Zen. So this is, so I'm interested in just because why not, doing a little bit of a dive into, I would say deep dive, but that's misleading. I'm going to skip the first half, more than half. The first more than half of this book is an introduction explaining, well, this translator here, this version of it here, we think it was this, but maybe it was this, and I was reminded of this. We're skipping that. I have another podcast some of you know about, Chicken Philosophy, where we read the introduction. Sometimes we read it afterward. I think I'm not going to waste our time reading introductions on Buddhist Books Podcast. Personal preference. Also, there's a lot of footnotes. In a lot of cases, more than half the page of each page of the actual translation is footnotes. I'm going to keep that to a minimum. If there's a little footnote next to something that's really kind of like the whole thing pivots on, then okay, we'll look at the footnote. But I'm not going to be sitting here reading footnotes forever and ever and ever. So that's what we're doing. We're going to do a deep dive into the Platform Sutra, find out what it is so we can have a deeper understanding of how the folks in the south of China must have misunderstood it in order for their Buddhism to be more in alignment with the non-Buddhist Seneca than it is in alignment with at least Dogen, if not Lord Buddha. Yeah. Again, if you're looking on YouTube for enlightenment, stop. Just turn off your phone. Maybe try meditating. If you're looking for somebody who has authority, or at least an air of authority, to explain it all to you in clear terms that you can understand, look somewhere else. Religion for Breakfast is a good channel, right? Here, what we do is we indulge our curiosity and read Buddhist books. Most of what we do, 6 out of 10 episodes, is we read the Tipitaka of Pre-Sectarian Early Buddhism. That's the original scriptures of Buddhism. If you'd like to hear that instead of this, click here. That's the Tipitaka playlist. If, on the other hand, you don't want to jump in this far into the middle of the Zen Buddhism series, then you can start at the beginning. There's the Zen Buddhism playlist. And without further ado, let's see what this is all about. Okay, the title is Southern School, Sudden Doctrine, Supreme Mahayana, Great Perfection of Wisdom, the Platform Sutra, preached by the Sixth Patriarch Huineng at the Ta Fan Temple in Shaoqiu. One roll, recorded by the spreader of the Dharma, the disciple Fahai, who at the same time received the precepts of formlessness. Real quick. Again, normally we focus on pre-sectarian early Buddhism, which is slightly differentiated from Theravada, which is basically the earliest form of Buddhism that exists today, because we don't have a time machine. We can't go back before King Ashoka and see what they were like. The 14 different schisms off of pre-sectarian early Buddhism, which is when Lord Buddha was still alive, right? That's when Lord Buddha was still alive. There's Theravada. So Mahayana. Mahayana developed, 600 or 700 years after, pre-sectarian early Buddhism. And a lot is under the umbrella of Mahayana. Later, there developed Vajrayana, the Tibetan and Japanese forms. And then Zen, I put here. But this Sixth Patriarch of Zen, in the title, or at least the scribe in the title, referred to this as Mahayana. So, again, it's all kind of under the umbrella. I don't think... Well, okay, let's just move forward. All right. 1. The Master Huineng ascended the high seat at the lecture hall of the Ta Fan Temple and expounded the Dharma of the great perfection of wisdom and transmitted the precepts of formlessness. At that time, over 10,000 monks, nuns, and lay followers sat before him. I hope you don't mind me interjecting and talking every now and then. It's something I do. So when we're reading Tipitaka or even many of the Mahayana sutras, at least from what I've gathered, the scene is set at a Vulture Peak or wherever, somewhere in Bihar, right? And Lord Buddha is sitting in front of the monks, and you have a certain picture in your mind. And at least I do. I got to go to those parts of Bihar and see what that was like, to help kind of fill in the background landscape of where these things took place, which I enjoy doing. But here, we're talking about a master in China with 10,000 monks and nuns. It's a little bit of a different picture. Okay, we're here. The prefect of Shaoqiu, Wei Chu, some 30 officials from various departments, some 30 Confucian scholars, all begged the master to preach on the Dharma of the great perfection of wisdom. The prefect then had a monk disciple, Fahai, record his words so that they might become known to later generations and be of benefit to students of the way, in order that they might receive the pivot of the teaching and transmit it among themselves, taking these words as their authority. That's what we're reading. Okay, at least within its own. 2. The Master Huineng said, quote, "Good friends, purify your minds and concentrate on the Dharma of the great perfection of wisdom. End quote. The master stopped speaking and quieted his own mind. Then, after a good while, he said, quote, "Good friends, listen quietly. My father was originally an official at Fanyang. He was later dismissed from his post and banished as a commoner, a Sin Cho in Lingnan. While I was still a child, my father died, and my old mother and I, a solitary child, moved to Nanhai. We suffered extreme poverty, and here I sold firewood in the marketplace. By chance, a certain man bought some firewood, and then took me with him to the lodging house for officials. He took the firewood and left. Having received my money, and turning towards the front gate, I happened to see another man who was reciting the Diamond Sutra. Upon hearing it, my mind became clear, and I was awakened. I asked him, quote within quotes, 'Where do you come from that you have brought this sutra with you?' And quote within quotes, he answered, quote within quotes, 'I have made obeisance to the Fifth Patriarch Hong Jen at the East Mountain, Fangmu Shan, in Huangmei Hsien in Chicho. At present, there are over 1,000 disciples there. While I was there, I heard the master encourage the monks and lay followers, saying that if they recited just one volume, the Diamond Sutra, they could see into their own natures, and with direct apprehension, become Buddhas. End quote within quotes. Hearing what he said, I realized that I was predestined to have heard him. Then I took leave of my mother and went to Fangmu Shan in Huangmei and made obeisance to the Fifth Patriarch, the priest Hong Jen. 3. Still in quotes. The priest Hong Jen asked me, quote in quotes, 'Where are you from that you come to this mountain to make obeisance to me? Just what is it that you are looking for from me?' End quote in quotes. I replied, quote in quotes, 'I am from Lingnan, a commoner, from Hsin Cho. I have come this long distance only to make obeisance to you. I am seeking no particular thing, but only the Bodhidharma, the Buddha Dharma.' End quote, end quotes. By the way, obeisance is like prostration before, deferring to, not quite worshiping, but like bowing down before a king, that kind of thing. That was a word that we being me, that was a word that I had never heard or consciously heard before I began reading. It was actually the Jain Sutras was when I first became aware of that word. So I'm assuming there might be one or two of you who are like, what's this obeisance? Is it obedience? Or no, yeah, kind of, but obeisance is like a British, old-timey British person bowing before the king, you might think. So as an American, it's an unfamiliar concept to me. We don't bow to our presidents. Anyway, the master then reproved me, saying, quote within quotes, "If you're from Lingnan, then you're a barbarian. How can you become a Buddha?" End quote within quotes. Non sequitur, buddy. He must be testing him. He doesn't really mean what he's saying. We'll give him that much credit because he's the fifth patriarch. Why would he be this ignorant? Sorry. I replied, quote within quotes, Although people from the south and people from the north differ, there is no north and south in Buddha nature. Although my barbarian's body and your body are not the same, what difference is there in our Buddha nature? And quote within quotes, the master wished to continue his discussion with me. However, seeing that there were other people nearby, he said no more. Then he sent me to work with the assembly. Later, a lay disciple had me go to the threshing room, where I spent over 8 months treading the pestle. No footnote. We're supposed to already know what treading the pestle means. Okay. 4. Unexpectedly one day, the fifth patriarch called his disciples to come. And when they had assembled, he said, quote within quotes, because it's still the sixth patriarch talking. Let's just assume he's going to be talking forever. So I'll say quote rather than quote within quotes. He's talking. This is him talking. Quote, let me preach to you. For people in this world, birth and death are vital matters. You disciples make offerings all day long and seek only the field of blessings, but you do not seek to escape from the bitter sea of birth and death. Your own self-nature obscures the gateway to blessings. How can you be saved? All of you return to your rooms and look into yourselves. Men of wisdom will of themselves grasp the original nature of their prana, intuition. Prana, intuition. Each of you write a verse and bring it to me. I will read your verses, and if there is one who is awakened to the cardinal meaning, I will give him the robe and the dharma and make him the sixth patriarch. Hurry, hurry. And quote within quotes. The disciples received his instructions and returned, each to his own room. They talked it over amongst themselves, saying, quote, there's no point in our purifying our minds and making efforts to compose a verse to present to the priest. Shen Hsiu, the head monk, is our teacher. After he obtains the Dharma, we can rely on him. So let's not compose verses. End quote. They all gave up trying and did not have the courage to present a verse. At that time, there was a 3-sectioned corridor in front of the master's hall. On the walls were to be painted pictures of stories from the Ngakpa Sutra. Get to that eventually. Together with a picture in commemoration of the fifth patriarch transmitting the robe and dharma. In order to disseminate them to later generations and preserve a record of them, the artist, Lu Chen, had examined the walls and was to start work the next day. 6. The head monk Shen Hsiu thought, quote, the others won't present mind verses because I am their teacher. If I don't offer a mind verse, how can the fifth patriarch estimate the degree of understanding within my mind? If I offer my mind to the fifth patriarch with the intention of gaining the Dharma, it is justifiable. However, if I am seeking the patriarchship, then it cannot be justified. Then it would be like a common man usurping the saintly position. But if I don't offer my mind, then I cannot learn the Dharma. End quote. For a long time, he thought about it and was very much perplexed. At midnight, without letting anyone see him, he went to write his mind verse on the central section of the south corridor wall, hoping to gain the Dharma. Quote, if the fifth patriarch sees my verse and says that it, ... and there is a weighty obstacle in my past karma, then I cannot gain the Dharma and shall have to give up. The Honorable Patriarch's intention is difficult to fathom. I don't know why there's 3 dots there, but continuing. Then the head monk Shen Hsiu, at midnight, holding a candle, wrote a verse on the central section of the south corridor without anyone else knowing about it. The verse read, the body is the Bodhi tree. The mind is like a clear mirror. At all times we must strive to polish it, and must not let the dust collect. 7. After he had finished writing the verse, the head monk Shen Hsiu returns to his room and lay down. No one had seen him. At dawn, the fifth patriarch called the painter Lu to draw illustrations from the Ngakpa Sutra on the south corridor wall. The fifth patriarch suddenly saw this verse and, having read it, said to the painter Lu, quote, I will give you 30,000 cash. Is that a lot? What's the exchange rate back then? It was a long time ago, before inflation. It's probably a lot, right? Sorry. You have come a long distance to do this arduous work, but I have decided not to have the pictures painted after all. It is said in the Diamond Sutra, quote, all forms everywhere are unreal and false. End quote. It would be best to leave this verse here and to have the deluded ones recite it. If they practice in accordance with it, they will not fall into the 3 evil ways. Those who practice by it will gain great benefit. End quote. The master then called all his disciples to come and burned incense before the verse. The disciples came in to see, and all were filled with admiration. The fifth patriarch said, quote, you should all write this verse. You should all recite this verse so that you will be able to see into your own natures. With this practice, you will not fall into the 3 evil ways. End quote. The 3 evil paths, footnote, hell, hungry demons, and beasts. Oh, okay. The disciples all recited it, and feeling great admiration, cried out, quote, how excellent, end quote. The fifth patriarch then called the head monk Shen Hsiu inside the hall and asked, quote, did you write this verse or not? If you wrote it, you are qualified to attain my Dharma, end quote. The head monk Shen Hsiu said, quote, I am ashamed to say that I actually did write the verse, but I do not dare seek the patriarchship. I beg you to be so compassionate as to tell me whether I have even a small amount of wisdom and discernment of the cardinal meaning or not, end quote. The fifth patriarch said, quote, this verse you wrote shows that you still have not reached true understanding. You have merely arrived at the front of the gate, but have yet to be able to enter it. If common people practice according to your verse, they will not fall. But in seeking the ultimate enlightenment, one will not succeed with such an understanding. You must enter the gate and see your own original nature. Go and think about it for a day or two, and then make another verse and present it to me. If you have been able to enter the gate and see your own original nature, then I will give you the robe and the Dharma." End quote. The head monk Shen Hsiu left, but after several days he was still unable to write a verse. 8. One day an acolyte passed by the threshing room, reciting this verse. As soon as I heard it, I knew that the person who had written it had yet to know his own nature and to discern the cardinal meaning. I asked the boy, quote, "What's the name of the verse you were reciting just now?" End quote. The boy answered me saying, quote, "Don't you know? The master said that birth and death are vital matters, and he told his disciples each to write a verse if they wanted to inherit the robe and the Dharma and to bring it for him to see. He who was awakened to the cardinal meaning would be given the robe and the Dharma and be made the sixth patriarch. There is a head monk by the name of Shen Hsiu who happened to write a verse on formlessness on the walls of the south corridor. The fifth patriarch had all his disciples recite the verse, saying that those who awakened to it would see their own self-natures, and that those who practiced according to it would attain emancipation." End quote. I said, quote, "I've been treading the pestle for more than 8 months, but haven't been to the hall yet. I beg you to take me to the south corridor so that I can see this verse and make obeisance to it. I also want to recite it so that I can establish causation for my next birth and be born in a Buddha land." End quote. The boy took me to the south corridor, and I made obeisance before the verse. Because I was uneducated, I asked someone to read it to me. As soon as I had heard it, I understood the cardinal meaning. I made a verse and asked someone who was able to write to put it on the wall of the west corridor, so that I might offer my own original mind. If you do not know the original mind, studying the Dharma is to no avail. If you know the mind and see its true nature, you then awaken to the cardinal meaning. My verse said, "Bodhi originally has no tree. The mirror also has no stand. Buddha nature is always clean and pure. Where is there room for dust?" Another verse said, "The mind is the Bodhi tree. The body is the mirror stand. The mirror is originally clean and pure. Where can it be stained by dust?" The followers in the temple were all amazed when they heard my verse. Then I returned to the threshing room. The fifth patriarch realized that I had a splendid understanding of the cardinal meaning. Being afraid lest the assembly know this, he said to them, quote, "This is still not complete understanding." End quote. 9. At midnight, the fifth patriarch called me into the hall and expounded the Diamond Sutra to me. Hearing it but once, I was immediately awakened, and that night I received the Dharma. None of the others knew anything about it. Then he transmitted to me the Dharma of sudden enlightenment and the robe, saying, quote, "I make you the sixth patriarch. The robe is the proof and is to be handed down from generation to generation. My Dharma must be transmitted from mind to mind. You must make people awaken to themselves." End quote. The fifth patriarch told me, quote, "From ancient times, the transmission of the Dharma has been as tenuous as a dangling thread. If you stay here, there are people who will harm you. You must leave at once." End quote. 10. I set out at midnight with the robe and the Dharma. The fifth patriarch saw me off as far as Chiu Chiang Station. I was instantly enlightened. The fifth patriarch instructed me, quote, "Leave, work hard, take the Dharma with you to the south. For 3 years do not spread the teaching, or else calamity will befall the Dharma. Later, work to convert people. You must guide deluded persons well. If you are able to awaken another's mind, he will be no different from me." End quote. After completing my leave-taking, I set out for the south. I think that's a good place to close. I kind of like how it's like a story. It's a tale. He's sharing the story of his life. And I'm interested in seeing where it goes. I look forward to seeing where it goes. I don't really have any comments yet about how a misunderstanding of it might lead one to a wrong view. I think I'll withhold my judgment on that until we finish reading the Platform Sutra. Then we can take a stab at it, make an effort to see how that fits in with Seneca's wrong view, and we can, his non-Buddhist view. And we can investigate that. But for now, I'm enjoying getting to know the Sixth Patriarch of Zen Buddhism. He's interesting, an interesting cat, you might say. I hope that you enjoyed it, and hope that you'll tune in next time. And we'll get back to Dogen's Shobogenzo next time, and alternate that way with the Zen Buddhism portion. So there it is. So next time on 273, we'll be back to the Tipitaka. 273 and 274. And then 275, of course, we'll be reading Shingon Buddhism, which is Japanese Vajrayana. So, all right. I'll go ahead and do the usual closing. Thank you all for joining me on this journey to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below. We send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.